The college basketball season is back and rolling, and we have Anthony Dabbundo from Action Network, my Syracuse guy. How are we doing, Anthony?
Doing well, excited to have college hoops back. So much intrigue and so many new pieces moving around. You don't know what to expect. So it makes for a really fun challenge, but also you can find some edges in the market early in the season before the books adjust to what these teams are.
A really fun challenge, especially with the transfer portal. I mean, it's harder. It's got to be harder for you guys at the Action Network to handicap these games than ever before. How does it take more prep? Like, can you explain the sort of research now that goes into this compared to a few years ago?
Yeah, there's more year-to-year turnover. I think one of the most interesting things you'll see as you get into projecting teams, you'll find a team get overhyped based off of a couple of big portal guys they add from mid-major schools who are going up a level in competition. Those teams tend to get overrated. I actually think internal development is still really underrated, and so you want to bet on teams that are young and staying together to kind of gel and take that leap, as opposed to the team that went out and bought a bunch of portal players who maybe had high usage rates and high points per game, like their stats popped, but they weren't actually that good efficiency wise. So certainly some different things to consider. And I think it's helped level the playing field because you're seeing a lot of big major, high major teams take mid-major portal guys who aren't quite as good, that are kind of capping their ceiling.
Now, an opening night in college basketball, you don't get a lot of marquee matchups, but the big one tonight is USC, Kansas State. USC brings in one of the top recruits in the country, Isaiah Collier. Bronny James not playing tonight, still dealing with the heart ailment from over the summer. And Kansas State, who went to an Elite Eight last year, had the darling of the tournament in Marquise Noel. They lose him and Keontae Johnson to the NBA. What are you looking for in this game, and how would you bet it?
Yeah, so I like Kansas State +3. I think, last season, Kansas State came in power ranked and predicted to be the worst team in the Big 12, first year under Jerome Tang. I'm a big believer in Jerome Tang, made some good money betting on them last year early in the season. I think he does a really nice job of finding good fits in the portal, and he's done that this year. Tyler Perry, coming over from North Texas, is a perfect Marquise Noel fit. He's not quite as much of a passer, but he's a better scorer than Noel. He can make that offense go. He thrived in a low possession, very rigid offense. I think he'll have more freedom this year. And they got Arthur Kaluma from Creighton, who could have gone to the NBA, if we're being honest. Like he's going to get NBA looks, and he's somebody that could take another leap. He was a freshman last year, so young, really talented player. I think he can really blossom under Tang as well. So I think they did a nice job of hitting key spots in the portal to replace their two best, players in Johnson and Noel last year. I like Naquan Tomlin rim running. Like, I think it's a really good mix with Perry. So I like this Kansas State team more than the market, and I'm down a little on USC, not because I think they're going to be bad, but I think that they did lose a lot of scoring, and I don't think their rim protection is as good as normal. They're traditionally like a top 5 2-point defense in the country. I'm not sure that's the case right now, based on how they project. They're not quite as big this year. So I do like the Wildcats neutral site tonight. I think it should be a coin flip game. So I'll take the 3.
And now a sneaky good matchup tonight is Princeton-Rutgers, a local one on a neutral court in Trenton, New Jersey. What do you like in this game? Princeton coming off their best tournament run in 56 years. What do you like, Anthony?
I don't know how Rutgers is scoring this year. I mean, if you look at their profile right now, and Rutgers always has these kind of problems, but Paul Mulcahy was basically their offense last year. When Mulcahy was moving the ball around and getting a ton of assists, he was really good. McConnell, did some good scoring. They're both gone. So I think there's some real question about how much depth they have. Mag looks like he's going to be out still. So he's down. Like, there's just not a lot to like about this Rutgers half court offense. It's going to be able to separate. Princeton is not going to turn the ball over a lot. So they're going to make Rutgers operate in the half court. Princeton also can space the floor. And Rutgers, with Big Cliff in the middle, doesn't like to have him have to leave the paint very much. So if Princeton can shoot over it, they're certainly going to be pretty live in this game. So catching 6, I like them. Neutral court, local rivalry. I think Princeton is certainly live. Of course, no Tosan anymore. He was so dominant last year for them. They ran their whole offense through him, but they returned most of their other production. So I think it's a pretty dangerous spot for them.
Now, you mentioned earlier there's ways to take advantage early in the season of these markets with the uncertainty, especially in the transfer portal era of college basketball. What is your best bet of the games that we have not talked about?
So I'm going to go with Samford +20, 19.5 against Purdue. And
Wow.
You're going to hear about how Purdue is angry and motivated after they had that embarrassing loss to Fairleigh Dickinson. And I do find it very interesting that they scheduled a team who profiles somewhat similarly to Fairleigh Dickinson. Sanford's a little different, but one of the things that's very true about both is they both press a lot. So Fairleigh Dickinson was second in the country in press rate last year, Sanford third. It's a big way of how they play. They also throw a lot of junk zones at teams. Purdue had its struggles with zones because they tended to settle for a lot of jump shots. So if Sanford throws a press and they get a couple of turnovers, they steal some turnovers there, then they drop back into a zone and pack the paint. They're a pretty good rim defense, relatively speaking. Sanford is, and so they can kind of make it a little bit more difficult for Edey. They have some bodies they can throw at him, and I think that this is an interesting matchup for Purdue because they don't turn over anybody. So the way that they play slow, they play in the half court, they out execute you, they get to the line a lot. But Sanford has depth. They have rim protection. And I think they keep this game relatively close. I mean, they're not going to win unless Purdue shoots 0 for 100 again, like they did last year from 3 in the tournament, but they're certainly going to be competitive. So I think Sanford's decently interesting here. And I did bet them plus 19.5. I think it's a couple points too high.
You'll hear a lot about that one if Sanford can keep that one close, like you said, especially with Purdue coming off of that loss to Fairleigh Dickinson in the first round of the tournament. And now, Anthony, I mentioned at the start, you're my Syracuse guy. I'd be remiss to not ask you about the start of the Red Era. Adrian Autry takes over for Jim Boeheim tonight, the first game in 47 years that Jim Boeheim has not been the coach of Syracuse University basketball. What do you think? What are you expecting from a team coached by Adrian Autry? And are you looking forward to watching a new era of Syracuse basketball?
Yeah, certainly. Boeheim had done an incredible job, of course, over his time, but I think that the time was right to make the move, and it's for the better for the program now. And I'm excited to see what it looks like. I mean, more man to man means probably more tempo. Zones have a way of slowing teams down, making them get grind in the half court. I love the guard play for Syracuse. KenPom has them outside the top 100, Bart Torvik as well. I disagree. I think with these guards, they're going to be very competitive. We'll see with McLeod, like what he is as a rim protector and how that works. But they certainly should be better defensively this year with the improved athleticism. And I think Judah Mintz is a top 10 point guard in the country. So they're going to be very competitive this year. I think Syracuse is a bubble team. I think they're a bet on. I already have a spot circled against Tennessee in Maui in a couple of weeks, where I'm going to be looking to bet them as a solid dog against Tennessee half court offense that's really, really ugly. This game, I did bet some over 140. It's gone up a lot. Both coaches have talked all preseason about wanting to play faster. So I do think the pace will be very high in this game. New Hampshire's got a bunch of new pieces, so interesting to see what they look like. But overall, excited and think the Orange are a bet on. And it's a team that I've made some good money fading the last couple of years. But I think this is a new era and certainly a new vibe. We'll see, how Autry manages the in-game coach decisions and the player development behind the scenes. That's probably what determines how good this team is. But that will be interesting to watch.
Very tough schedule for Syracuse to start in Maui, like you mentioned. They also have Purdue, who we talked about before that. And Syracuse, maybe the only team in the country that can guard Zach Edey with a bigger center, with McLeod being 7'4", Edey 7'3". So it'll be interesting. Interesting start the season. And Colgate. Syracuse lost to Colgate 2 years in a row, and that'll be a huge game to see if the man-to-man changes that. So
I think it will.
I hope so.
Colgate's got some real concerns too, based on some of the early numbers out of them. So we'll see what they look like, but they'll probably still win the Patriot League, but I think Syracuse gets their revenge for the last 2 years.
Exactly. All right, Anthony, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.